Hey, this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and today I want to talk about something a little more serious, and that's 3D printing and air quality. So it all started off with me trying some air quality sensors and also seeing in the research that there's a growing body of evidence that, at least in some cases, you have to make sure your area is well ventilated. In my case, I'm in about a 200 square foot office, and because I record and the printers make noise, I close the door, which means I'm in an enclosed space. Some of you may know that back in October I had open heart surgery, and so something I'm very aware of is the fact of what I'm breathing in and what's going into my body. So with that being said, let's take a look at air quality and some of the issues. As I mentioned, there's a large body of research about the risks of FDM 3D printing. Now, when I say risks, do I mean that I'm going to stop printing? No. In fact, I'm probably going to wind up buying some more 3D printers. But there is some steps you can take and things you need to look out for and just be aware of as you're 3D printing. And let's just talk about those really quickly, and then I'll just show some examples. Now in this infographic, I generated this using NotebookLM. I loaded in 56 different scientific articles regarding emissions, and it's synthesized all those into this infographic. And so let's just talk about this for a second. There are two, invisible risk factors you need to be aware of. There's ultrafine particles, and that's basically pieces of plastic and debris floating in the air. And then there's also volatile organic compounds. Now, in the case of the volatile organic compounds, any of the petroleum-based filaments, such as ABS and ASA. ASA is of interest to me because I've been printing with a lot of that lately, and I'll show you some tests I made with that. I should also point out that at least in some studies, PLA was shown to have volatile organic compounds equivalent to ABS, depending on the brand, the type of PLA, the pigments being used. So in a lot of cases, PLA has a bunch of additives in it. So instead of just being plant-based material, it's actually got so many other additives in it that it can cause some risks. All 3D printing, or FDM 3D printing, generates those ultrafine particles. Now, most of the ultrafine particles are on the larger side, which are actually good for us because that means we can install a HEPA filter and take care of those. In the case of the volatile organic compounds, you wind up, if you have activated carbon, you can mitigate for that. Now, one of the biggest mitigations you can do is one, right down here at the bottom. Let's look at that. Use an enclosure. An enclosure will take care of, it's estimated, again, based on scientific articles, where 95% of your particles and air quality will stay within the enclosure. Now, it is recommended that if you're using an enclosure, let things cool down before you take it out of the printer. The particles tend to be the worst when you initially start printing and melting that filament. And then also at the end, if you let it sit maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, that reduces the particles and gases you're releasing when you open it. Also, proper ventilation makes sense. And then lastly, reduce your time sitting with the printers depending on what you're printing. Now, let's switch over and take a look at my printer. Now, the other day, I wound up with my alcohol and rag cleaning the glass on my printer. And that's one reason what made me start thinking about this was how dirty the glass was. So I'm going to spray a little alcohol on my rag here and just wipe down the inside of the printer. And let's see if we look at that. I am pulling off lots of dirt and grime, and that's all stuff that's staying inside the enclosure. So you can see that there is material and dirt and grime inside that enclosure. And it's staying inside here. Now, if we look at the volatile chemicals, it just went up significantly. It went up because I'm using alcohol inside the printer, and the air quality actually went down because of the alcohol. Now, according to my index here, this is still showing in the green. I'm using these cheap little sensors. I think on Amazon, I got them for $75 a piece. They also log data so I can pull off a spreadsheet, which I really like. The other thing, I got these for, I think, $25 off eBay used. But again, something interesting to keep aware of. So there is material inside on the walls of the printer, basically almost like smoke. The way this has been described is the enclosure is like the inside of a fireplace, and you have a screen up in front of the fire to keep most of the smoke inside the fireplace and force it out the chimney. In my case, I mentioned I'm doing a lot of printing with ASA. So let's take a quick look at what's happening inside the printer with ASA. Hey, this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for supporting the channel, and also let you know that if you're interested, I've recently launched a Patreon page. On Patreon, I have 2 membership options, which for just $5 a month, that really helps me out and generates some additional income that I use to plow directly back into the channel. Part of the benefits of supporting me via Patreon, I've taken a lot of the tools I've developed over the years. You can still use all the tools, the calculators, and I'll continue to add functionality. But what I've done is, like in the case of the Orca Slicer settings, you now have the ability to export out these new settings that it's generated for you as an Orca Slicer profile. Over on the cost calculator, you now have the ability, you can save your invoices so you can go back to them, some reviews and analysis. If you're logged in with Patreon, you click Analyze, it'll actually go out, find video with the most number of clicks. So I also have reviews and analysis on various 3D printers so you can get some additional information. So again, thank you for your support. I appreciate it. And now let's go back to the video. So this is my air quality monitor inside the case of my K2 Plus as I print ASA. And maybe you can hear it. It's beeping, giving me warnings about the air quality inside the case. Now, just to compare the air quality throughout my house, I've placed sensors in 4 different places just to try things. Again, I have a sensor inside the enclosure, a sensor right next to the printer outside of it, next to my HEPA filter with activated carbon. And then I put one in the hallway outside my office, and then one downstairs all the way away from the printer. Now, if we look at all 3 of these, here's the shot of the air quality monitor right outside the printer, next to my HEPA filter that also has carbon embedded. As you can see, it does a really good job of making the air much cleaner. And then here's a picture of the sensor in the hallway, and then a picture of the one downstairs. So again, you can sort of see the differences. Now, just pointing out on my K2 Plus, it has filters in the back here. Now, I'm not currently using HEPA filters in there. I'm just using the activated carbon filters that came with the printer. And as you can see, looking at the air quality outside the printer, it really is making a huge difference. Now, I will point out, and let me show this, that you can now buy, and I have a 2-pack of these. I just need to install them. So they do have, at least on AliExpress, activated carbon HEPA filters that you can get for the K2 Plus. Again, I haven't tested these yet, but they are available. And so I want to try those. $55, I just bought a full room HEPA filter with activated carbon. So according to the research, ideally with your filtration, you want to have the air exchanged in your room about 6 times an hour. As long as if I'm in a room that's 200 square feet and I'm using this filter that's 1,500 square feet, I'm definitely changing it out 6 times an hour. Now, in my case, I got the one that was a little bit bigger than this. Same brand that was 2,000 square feet. So again, I'm changing the air pretty frequently in my office. I'm also went ahead and subscribed and got the filters. So they're arriving every 6 months. So I remember to change it out. But again, that's super handy. So I would recommend getting a HEPA filter in your office, and you want something that's oversized for your office. So again, you're changing that air very frequently. We have a couple of different mitigation strategies. As I pointed out, you definitely want to be printing, if you can, inside a case, inside an enclosure. Right now, I only have 2 printers that aren't in an enclosure, and I feel like I'm covering any issues with those because I just do PLA with those with my HEPA filter that's changing the air in my office. And then also printing the ASA inside of the enclosure. Just some small things you can do. And I really recommend that you take these simple mitigation strategies. As I pointed out, 95%, according to the research, of those ultrafine particles and chemicals can be captured inside an enclosure. And that's a huge difference. In a worst case, if you don't want to take any mitigation strategies or buy anything extra, print an enclosure, particularly if you're doing ABS or any of ASA or any of the petroleum-based filaments. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. In the future, I'll be doing the air quality on PLA just to see what it looks like. But hopefully you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Have a good day.